nice big sign letting everybody know where the trail is, and it starts out with a crushed granite, which makes the crunchy sound that a lot of people like. So here we have a good sitting area at the beginning of the trail. It's a place to wait and gather for all the rest of the hikers to get here. So here's another sign at the beginning of our hike for Riverside Trail. It gives the direction and then the activities that are allowed on the trail, so you can see no horseback riding, but then there's hiking and animals allowed. And it shows the starting point of 0. So as we begin to walk down the trail, you can see the surface is changing from the granite to a more natural surface. And here is another sign pointing us in the right direction of the Riverside Trail. So we've reached a point where there are several trails meeting together, and there is a nice big sign pointing us in the direction of the river. So here along the Riverside Trail we have our first marker. It's not necessarily a distance, but the 1 corresponds to a 1 along the trail on the trail map. Here along the trail, which is now a dirt, kind of sandy clay, you can see there are tire marks from the maintenance crew, making sure the paths are well maintained and hikers are able to get through with ease. So here we are along the main section of the Riverside Trail, and we stopped to measure. From one side to the other, it is about 7 feet. Alright, so with a 7-foot wide trail, it makes it comfortable for 2 people to walk side by side. Alright, so we've reached probably about our halfway point in the Riverside Trail. So we're going to start heading downhill, as you can see, to the river. And we have a bench here that's a nice resting spot, as you can take a little break before you start your hike down. And then there's a sign talking about the riparian zone down below. So as we start hiking down, you can see the surface has changed once again. It's more of a flint rock, kind of rocky downhill path. It slows you down a little bit on the hike down. You have to be a little more careful than before. But it's just because of the change in the land. They're trying to keep the surface a little more natural. So we've made it down the trail and we have reached the river. There's a nice little area. You know, it's cleared out, kind of like a hangout, stop and sit for a minute. There is a picnic table to hang out, and the stool here is for people on their horses to get on and off easily. So normally this is a dirt trail, but because of the fall, it is covered in leaves, and it is making a really loud crunch sound. And along the trail, to add to the experience, we have found what appears to be a dead possum. We are now on a new trail. It's called Blue Stem, and this trail actually has a really good canopy. It creates a lot of shade, which makes it great for hiking. So here we have what is part of an equestrian trail. And the width of it is only about 6 to 6.5 feet, which is kind of narrow for a horse. It definitely have to be ridden single rider on that. Here's a little bit of proof that there's been some horses on this trail. But I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got... So in our hike we have reached an overlook. This is Bluff Trail Overlook. The park realizes this is a highlight for them, so they make sure to put a nice entrance so people can see it. Once again, they give instructions for the scenic view of no equestrian riders.
Oh, another one.
And here is another big entrance into the overlook. So here we are, heading up to the overlook. There's some rocks as steps. Keeps a nice natural feature. into the park. And now we have reached the overlook, which is closed in by a nice natural looking fence so people don't get close to the edge. And you overlook the Colorado River. So we're at the overlook. They have a nice cleared out area, but they could use, you know, a bench or something in the shade for people to stop, take a break, and enjoy the view. So as we end our hike, we are taking a different trail up, and there's a sign that says park headquarters right here. I understand the keeping the nature aspect of things, but this sign, the letters probably need to be repainted or something. It's kind of hard to see, and it's hidden behind a lot of vegetation. So along the trail we have a bench, a nice place to sit and rest, but I'm not sure why it's here because there is no shade. Maybe a little bit of an overlook, but it's not really much of a break without shade, especially in Texas. Alright, so after making it to the river and to the overlook, we have made it to Ridge Trail, which is, you could almost consider it a demonstration trail. It's one of the easier ones at the park. It is crushed granite, relatively flat, and there are a lot of markers along the way to give, you know, unexperienced hikers a little bit of a sense of where they are. This trail I would also consider one of the ADA trails because it is relatively flat and it's a hard, flat surface. It's about the only one in the park because it is a nature park. They tried to keep, you know, the original trails in place. So this would be about the only trail that someone in a wheelchair or, you know, handicap could make it down. Here's an example of one of the markers for a Ridge Trail. It's a relatively short trail and they have a lot of markers along the way to ensure hikers they are going in the right direction.
Nice to meet you where you've been. I could show you incredible things. Magic, madness, heaven.
Alright, so we have made it back to park headquarters, and overall McKinney Roughs Trails has a great experience to them. You start out with the crushed granite, you know, in the more civilized areas where the buildings are, and then as you go down to the trails it becomes more of a natural surface of what was in the land. They have a good job of clearing them. They do have a good vertical clearance for hikers or equestrian riders on designated trails. And the width of them is enough for two people to walk down comfortably in most places. Some places it becomes narrow, down to one person, but that has to do with a lot of the trees and shrubs around. The only recommendations I have is to update some of the park headquarters signs so people know where they're going, and to label the Ridge Trail as somewhat ADA accessible so people know they're able to go down those trails.
But I keep cruising.